Hey, what's up everybody? I'm at my family reunion in southern Utah and we decided to make a photo. This is the final photo that we're about to make. You've seen it, but I haven't. What we're doing is we have these tents here and the camp host was really nice to us, so we decided we'd make kind of a nice photo of the camp area for them to use in their marketing materials. So first we shot the sunset, and it was a beautiful sunset, and we liked the tents all lined up there, but the tents just didn't really stand out too much. So what we did is I kept my tripod there, didn't move it, and then now we start the exposure, 30 seconds, f11, ISO 800, start the exposure, and then I got a speed light and my brother got a speed light, and we'd run behind each one of the tents and pop one flash full power on each of the tents, and that lit them up and just added a lot more interest to the photo. Just looks like somebody with a lantern in the tent. And so we have that, and then some night shots of the sky. That's kind of our raw materials that we're working with. We'll see what it ends up being on the computer, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. But you're probably wondering why my camera is such a mess. Cameras are tools, and you certainly want to take care of it. You don't want to ruin an expensive camera. But sometimes, if you gotta be in the mud to take a picture, that's what you gotta do. And today we had an awesome slide coming down with all of my nephews and nieces, and the kids would slide down, and me down into a big mud pit. And so we got some cool pictures of the mudslide, but it meant that my camera got hosed with mud a couple times. So it's a weather sealed body, and I think it'll be just fine. But I think it's a lesson. Sometimes if you baby the camera too much, you don't get the shot. So use it as a tool. But let's see what we can take with these pictures of the tents and see what we can make out of them. All right, we're back from the shoot, and now we're putting the raw ingredients together on the computer. This is the sunset photo, and this is the photo of the tents. First thing is, if we're going to go to Photoshop, I want to go to Photoshop first thing so that we can maximize the non-destructive edits when we stylize the photo. So first, but before we do that, I want to change any exposure changes so that we can take advantage of the raw file. And here, there's not really anything I want to do with the exposure. I might bring up the exposure on this photo just a little bit and bring down the highlights so that we get a little bit better detail in the tents itself. I'm going to take the sunset photo and I'm going to go edit in Photoshop. And, I forgot to update. So that's going to bring in that photo, and then we're going to bring in this one. And we'll go over to Photoshop, and they will be coming up. All right, so we got our two photos now in Photoshop. I'm just going to do Control-A, copy, and I'm going to paste it on this one. And then I'm just going to unclick this so I can get them perfectly lined up. Looks like this one's a little bit to the left. I'm going to hit V to get my move tool, and the right arrow key to nudge that over just slightly. Good enough for government work. Okay, we're there. Now we just need to generally mask these two photos together, and this is going to be really easy because the line's so perfect of the mountain and because the exposures are so close anyway. So I'm going to take this photo, I'm going to create a mask. I'm going to get the brush tool and press X to switch my colors to black. Black conceals, white reveals, and so I'm painting black paint, not with that wacky brush, but with a normal brush on this layer so that I can mask them together. Mountains are the same, the exposure is about the same, so it's hard to mess this up. All right, my Photoshop work is now done. They are masked together. Now all I'm going to do is hit Command S. Okay, so now I've hit save, and when I do that, it's going to now come back to Lightroom, and I'll have this shot that I've masked together now in here. Perfect, there it is. Now we're going to do some Lightroom stylizing. First, this crazy rain cloud was just awesome. So I want to highlight that. We have a couple little dust spots here, and I just want to darken the clouds around here. What didn't show through well in the photo, and remember there's a raw photo that needs some vibrance, saturation added to it, is these clouds were just kind of a gentle yellow. Not as fiery orange as this, but they were kind of yellowish here. And so I want to bring that back. And then I'm going to darken the grass a little bit because this isn't very interesting. It's just brown grass. So I'm going to get my adjustment brush, right bracket to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to feather my selection so it's a gentle change. And I'm going to just brush down here in the grass so it falls a little bit more in shadow. And we'll change the exposure. Great. De-emphasize the grass. Now I'm going to get a new adjustment brush, and I'm just going to paint this yellow kind of on these clouds here that just didn't show up well in the final exposure. And we could do that a couple ways, but the way I'm going to do it now is just change the temperature and the tint just slightly. That's getting us in the ballpark. That's actually pretty good right there. And so I'll probably just leave that, and we'll get a new adjustment brush, and then I'm going to make these edges of the blue a little bit more blue just to provide a little bit of contrast in that sky. We'll darken those and bring the color temperature of those down. Ooh, not too much. All right, we did that. We've kind of stylized that. And now maybe I'll just add a little bit of contrast in these clouds and maybe a little bit of clarity just to make them pop. Up the contrast, up the clarity, maybe a little bit of hair saturation. And we got our shot. With just a little bit more love, just playing around a little bit, that's kind of the final version that I made of the photo. I just brightened the tints up a little bit, add a little bit more to the sky. I like a little bit of color. Some people don't, but I really like adding the color, so that's what I did on this one. So that's the tutorial. That's how I started, took the photos of the tents, and worked all the way through it. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Now I'll see you on improvephotography.com.